Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Hello learners, today we are going to study first year BA English course, in which the paper that we are going to study is English Main 0102 Introduction to English Language and Structure. I, Mayur Thakur, welcomes you all from the Chaitanya studio of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. In today's session, we are going to discuss this following topics. So, in today's session, the topic is adverbial and auxiliaries. The structure of the unit is objectives, keywords, adverbials, auxiliaries, and then we'll have some exercises, and at the end, we'll sum up the whole session. We'll go all the point in detail. Now, if you look at the objectives of this unit, in this unit, we shall discuss the meaning of adverbials and auxiliaries. We'll infer the structures and apt usage of adverbials and auxiliaries. And also this unit, as we discussed, it is divided into two sections. One is adverbial and the second one is auxiliaries. So the more we can say, these 2 points we have studied already in grammar, but today we are going to study in this paper of English language and structure in more detail. Now, before we move on, let's look at some important keywords in this unit. The very first is adverb. So when we say adverb, so as we know, adverb is something, a word that modifies something. Modifies means change. That modifies something other than a noun. Auxiliary. We must aware that auxiliary means which something added support, like furnishing, or you can say extra support. Then we have circumstance. Circumstance means one's overall condition, the situation. Then clause. Clause, as we know, in grammar it is also, but in legal terms it is called a document. A kind of document means, in document it is called separate section of a legal document. Then interrogative. Interrogative means which is related to question answer, like relating to verbs that asks for a reply, which means it needs some answer. When we need some answer, we ask questions, right? Now, semantic. Semantic, which means of or relating to meaning or the study of meaning, which means it study the meaning, or we can say the study of meaning. That is called semantics. So these words are given in your unit because it is very important before we move on. So it gives us it increase our vocab. So it is better to understand keywords. Now in English, the very first question, that what is adverbials? So adverbials are clause elements. What? The clause elements that serve two major purposes. And what are the two major purposes? Or we can say functions. So A, so they represents the circumstances. As we just discussed in keywords, they represents circumstances which are related to the clause, such as when or where the activity happened, what exactly, at what time, and when exactly it is happened. So they are known as circumstance adverbials, as we have highlighted here, circumstance adverbials. Then the second purpose, they share the speaker's emotions and comments on what the clause is about. They are known as stance adverbials, or also it is also called stance adverbials. It also comments on what the clause is about, and also it discusses the emotions. Now, types. Now look at the types of adverbials that we are going to study in this session. One is circumstance adverbial. Second is stance adverbials. Third one is epistemic. Fourth one is attitude. And the fifth one is style adverbials. So we'll go one by one. All the adverbials we'll see in detail. Now the first, circumstance adverbials. Circumstance adverbials are the most common type of adverbials, adding something about the action or state described in the clause. Like they answers the questions such as how, when, how much, how long, and why. So these are the questions that we generally, when we need to do some interrogation or we need to ask some questions, we use this question marks, like we use these words: when, where, how much, how long. Semantic categories of circumstance adverbials are given in the table. Now we'll go to semantic categories. So adverbials in this category circumstance, there are others. So we need to understand all this: where, how much, how long. So these are the situations given, circumstantial. So there are some situations in which we need to apply all the adverbials with certain examples. We'll go in the next table in detail that how the categories of circumstance adverbials can be seen. Now look at this table. Now we'll see this table in detail. As you can see, the category, the subcategory, the description, and the example of that adverbial is given completely in the last column. So the first, here you can see, let's look at the place, time, process, and contingency, and the last we have addition. So these are the four major categories, and there are some other category, we call it subcategories, and it describes that what kind of situation a particular, or you can say circumstance, that adverbial has, and the end there is an example. Now look at the first, place. The first is distance, which means it describes measurement and description of distance. Measurement and description of distance, which means, for example, here there is an example given: woman had to walk 20 kilometers to fetch the drinking water. So here we can see 20 kilometers. So it describes distance, right? It measures distance. So specific measurement and description of a distance, like woman had to walk 20 kilometers to fetch the drinking water, right? So this is the very first, that is distance. Now let's look at the another one, that is direction. So describes pathway of the action. So they used to walk from their home to college. So from where to where? Home to college. So from home to college, it shows the direction. Now the third one shows the position, like describes points of location, like the students of the computer department would be there. Means where are the students of computer department? So they must be there. So it shows the location, that where are they. So when we need to describe a particular position, we use this. Now time, let's point in time. For example, it describes time of action when it happens. For example, here, let's meet tomorrow evening and go for dinner. So here action is what? For dinner. So they are planning to go for dinner tomorrow. And when the time is tomorrow. So tomorrow evening and go for dinner. So this describes the point in time. Now let's look at the duration, the another example of time category, that is describing lasting of action. That means the British ruled for 200 years in India. So for example, it describes the duration, that for how long British ruled. For example, if you want to convert the sentence into interrogative, we can say how long British ruled India. then we can say the British ruled for 200 years in India. Now, let's look at the frequency. Describe how often the action happens, which means how action meant how many times. Like for example, Mr. Sharma, comedian, very often cracked jokes of him. So Mr. Sharma is a comedian, so he cracked jokes. Like oftenly means we just need to look at this word. We just need to point at this word like often, which describes frequency, describes how often the action happens. So Mr. Sharma, comedian, very often cracked jokes of him. So he is a comedian who often crack jokes about somebody on someone. So these are timings. It shows time. Now let's look at the time relationship. So it describes relationship between two actions. Like the patient had died before the doctor came. Means time relationship. Before doctor came, the patient was already dead. So between two things, it shows there are two actions. On the one, there is a patient who's already dead, and on the second, there is a doctor who's coming to see the patient. But in both the actions, the result is relationship between. So what is the relation? So it is the relationship between two actions. Now, process. In terms of processing things, the manner, means, instrument. So these are the three things we need to keep in mind when we discuss the process. Now it describes the manner of action. Robin walked slowly and missed his flight. The manner of action. Why? We can see what kind of manner of action he is. Very slow. He walked slow, so he missed the flight. So that's the result. Now describe the source used for the action. The parcel reached to my home by airmail. Means describe the source used for the action. So what kind of source is used? By airmail. Now this is the means, like what kind of source is used for the action. Now instrument describes the items used for the action. In various actions there are various sources we use. So here is the instrument. We can see the mother fed her kid with a teaspoon. So teaspoon is instrument, right? That what kind of instrument mother used to feed her kid, like teaspoon. Now contingency means cause and reason, or you can say reason, cause or reason. What is the cause? What is the reason for that? Like it describes the reason why the action happens. Like he met with an accident and died of head injury. So what is the cause? It is because of accident. He died of head injury. So it shows why the action happens. It happens because he had an accident and he died because of brain hemorrhage or anything that happens, head injury. Now let's look at the purpose. In contingency, the second category is purpose. Describes the purpose of the action like the reason. For example, I want to meet you in order to decide what should we do. Just like I have a purpose to see you in order to decide what should we do next, to plan something new. So this is, I want to meet you in order to decide what should we do next. Now the third category in contingency is concession. So in concession, which describes the idea that has contrast with an action. So it describes the idea that has contrast with an action. So although I was not well, I went to college. Means there are two contradictory situations, that the person who is not actually well, he was not good, but though he went to college. Why? So this is the question, that why he went to college? Because he wanted to, it shows the description that gives is here, that is, it shows the purpose of action like the reason, and here there is a contrast situation. Describes the idea that has contrast with an action. As we can see, the contrast. Here there is a purpose, here there is a reason. You can see the items that we used here for the action, the source, the manner, the relationship, how often. It describes lasting of action, means the time. Describes time of action, at what time. Describe points of location. So these are the keywords that we need to keep in mind while identifying a particular adverbial. Here let's go to the next, the fourth one is, that is condition. Describes the condition with reference to the action. It describes the condition with reference to the with reference to the action. That is, you have to jump into the water if you want to learn swim. Just like here there is a condition that if somebody wants to learn something, then he has to jump. If you want to learn swim, here it shows condition. If, whenever there is in any sentence, if you find the word if, it means there is a condition. Now contingency, let's look at the result, the fourth subcategory of contingency. It describes the result effect of the action. Mittal stayed at home so she can take care of her old parents. So Mittal stayed at home so she can take care of her old parents. So why she stayed at home? Because she has to take care of her old parents. So this is the situation. She stayed at home. So why? She has to take care of her parents. So this is result and effect of the action that we need to keep in mind. And at the end there is an addition, which means it adds something. Describes that one action is added to another one. For example, Ranbir's cousin also participated in the quiz. Just like not only Ranbir but his cousin also. So Ranbir's cousin also participated in the quiz. So in this table we have discussed the categories and subcategories of circumstance adverbials in detail, with a description and what are the examples of that particular adverbial. Now let's look at the stance adverbial. So after circumstantial we are going for stance adverbials. The stance adverbials clearly depicts the speaker's or writer's attitude to a clause or comment about its content. They are of mainly three types. That is, the very first is epistemic, the second is attitude, and the third is style. Now let's look at epistemic adverbials. They are of certainty and doubt. What it depicts? Actuality and reality, source of knowledge, limitation, and the fifth is viewpoint or perspective, when we shows our own viewpoint. Like in my opinion, this could be done in that way. Just like the source of knowledge, so means according to a survey. Just like the word, there are some source of knowledge is given, an authentic source of knowledge is provided. Actuality and reality. So what actually happened when we describe certain situations, that is certain and certainty and doubt. When sometimes we are clear about something and we have some doubt, then that shows these are called epistemic. Now if you look at the other one, that is attitude adverbials. So attitude adverbials represent the speaker's or writer's attitude or the position, or we can say the preposition. The attitude includes an evaluation or assessment of expectations. For example, my cousin wisely kept a copy of his project in his mobile. Then style adverbials. Another adverbial is which instance. So instance adverbials of style that state the manner of conveying the message. He honestly admitted that he didn't know about the fact. So he honestly admitted the fact that he didn't know about the reality, what actually happened. Now, let's do some exercise of what we have learned so far. So now here type of adverbials are given, and on the other hand, on the other side we have the examples of adverbial are given. We just need to, these are the example, we just need to match all these examples with its particular adverbial. Here 10 types of adverbial are given. So we are in this exercise, we are going to match all the adverbials with their proper examples. Now let's look at the first one that shows position. As we study in position, as you can see, so what will be the answer? So the answer for the first one is D, which means mangoes are being sold here, means it shows the position. Now point of time. The point of time, when we, if you see, now just look at the examples, wherever you find the timings, wherever you find the particular time, that is our answer. So now the second one is match with J. The meeting has been scheduled in the morning. So morning is the time, like point of time, at what point of time. Now third one is frequency. So when we say frequency, frequency means how often, as we just discussed in the previous table, that how often. Like in this column we can see that barking dogs seldom bite. Barking dogs seldom bite. Seldom, often, so these are the words which describes frequency. Now let's look at the fourth one in concession, which describes concession. So in fourth, the answer will be concession. Means a situation is given, no matter whatever happens, this will be done, at least minimum thing. Just like here, G will be the answer. We will go for picnic even though it rains. So no matter whether it is rain or not, they will go for picnic. Now condition, as we just recently, just 2 slides back we discussed that it shows condition, like if and but, which shows the kind of condition. Like here we can see, whenever you see the word if, it means there will be a condition. Now the result, the sixth one, that is result. So I will be the answer. They ran fast so that they could catch the train. So the result will be, in order to catch the train, they ran fast, and the result of that is they were succeeded. So this is result. Now limitation. If you look at the limitation, then in most cases people react and not respond. So this is limitation. It shows limitation. People just react, but they do not respond. In viewpoint, now let's look at the viewpoint. So in viewpoint, now only 3 left. So for that we have B. So that is B. To my knowledge, as I told you, my knowledge, people are not proactive. People are not proactive. So these are some example with their particular type of adverbial. Now let's look at the style and attitude. And attitude, if you look at it, is very easy. Now we have only two. The problem of corruption will be addressed by the company. The problem of corruption. So what can, so it shows attitude. And the style, the batsman literally hit the ball out of the stadium. So it is a way of playing cricket. The way, the style that batsman in particular has, I mean the particular style that he follows, the batsman literally hit the ball out of the stadium. So what he did, so he hit the ball. Now with these proper examples, we can easily understand what type of adverbial is suitable for any situation, or any, we can say this, that is why we called it circumstance, right? So in all these situations, these are the types of adverbials and these are the examples. So we have studied all the adverbials with their particular situation. Now let's move on to the next slide, and our second topic of the today's session, that is auxiliaries. Now let's begin. What is auxiliary? So auxiliary is something that we used, which helps us to understand things better and with proper clarity. Now first we begin with use of primary auxiliaries, that how it can be used. So be, have and do. The very first, these are the very primary auxiliaries that we used in any sentence. We use these three things. So be is used to form continuous tenses. Also it is used to build passive form. Have, so have is used to form perfect tenses. Do is used to form negative and simple present and simple past. It is used to form the interrogative of simple past and simple past. It is used to avoid repeating the same verb or phrase, and also it is used for affirmative and imperative emphasis. So these are the use of primary auxiliaries that we used in any sentence. We have seen while studying the tenses like past tense, present tense and future tense. So in all the three tenses, when we make any sentence, we use these three primary auxiliaries. Now the first point is primary auxiliaries. Now let's look at the table. Be, in infinitive type of sentence we use to be. Present participle will be the being. Past participle of that is been. Present will be of am, is, are. Past tense participle will be was, were. Have, to have. In present participle, having. Past participle will be had, and present will be have, has, and the past tense participle will be had. Just for the do, to do, doing, done, do, does, and then it will be did for the past tense. So we must remember this, that in what tense, how the primary auxiliary changes. Now common structure of modal auxiliaries: affirmative, negative, interrogative and interrogative and. This is assertive and this is negative. In interrogative, one means positive and negative. A is here which describes positive and N is described for negative sentence. Now negative subject, like MA, subject, MA, verb and object. In other words, like in any sentence we have SVO, subject, verb plus object and then the other verbs. For example, here we just need to put not. When we write any negative word, don't forget to put not. MA not. Object. So this is a structure. We just need to put not here when we write any negative sentence. So affirmative, negative, interrogative, or we can say where there is any question mark, because in interrogative at the end we have to put particular question mark. So don't forget the question mark. Now let's understand the pronouns with that particular tenses in present and past. Now what will be, these are the common pronouns that we use to make any sentence, like I, we, you, he, she, it, and they. Like any, in any grammar text we see this. Like if there is be, have, do, which are the common primary auxiliaries. So if there is I, that means I am, I have, I do in present tense. But if you convert them into past, it will become was, that I was, I had, and I did. For example, in present, that is we are, then it is we have, then it is we do. But if you convert them, then it will become we were, not WHERE, it's WERE. It is a correction required. Then we had, we did. So this is very show for question mark, but it is not that way. So it's WERE. Let me correct. Then here you, has, does. Like you are, has, does. Wherever you had, you have, you does. Wherever he does. Then here another WERE, where you were, you had, and you did. You had and you did. This is wrong, so you did. Now he is, she is, she does. So it will be converted into she was, she had, she did. Now if you look at the common pronoun it, it is, it has, it does, and it will be converted into past tense. It will become was, had, and did. So we just need to remember three things, that in present tense there will be a single person. If there is a single person, then it is I am, I am, I have, I do. But if you convert that into past, it will become I was, I had, and I did. And at the end, if there is a plural form like they, so they are, they have, they do, then they were, it is were, not were. So WERE, they were, they had, they did. So this is the common auxiliaries structure for a particular tense. Like what will be the tense in present tense, and what will be the kind of changes will happen in past tense when we write a sentence. Now let's look at some examples so we can understand each and every type of sentence. Like here we just see the structure earlier, that what will be the structure of a affirmative, negative, in interrogative, which is means sentence is very positive, and what will be the sentence in negative. So here om is a as we see the subject, verb, and object. So om can speak. So speak is a kind of a verb. This is our auxiliary, or we can say modal auxiliary. Om can speak English fluently. So these are the other words as we just discussed. And this is our objective, or we can say the objective of the sentence. So Om can speak English fluently, which is an assertive affirmative sentence. Subject Om, verb that is speak, an object that is English, and there are other words. So negative, if you look, Om cannot speak English fluently. So if you look at the negative things, can plus not, that is English, that is our object. So Om cannot speak English fluently, that will be a negative sentence. Now interrogative in a positive sense, can Om speak English fluently? As you see at the end there is a question mark. So can Om speak English fluently? Now the first in interrogative, the sentence will be changed. Can Om speak English? Like first there is an auxiliary, then our subject, then verb, and that is object. Just like can Om not speak English fluently? So it shows negative sentence. Can Om not speak English? Negative question. So in these four manners we can ask, we can see that how the auxiliary can be used. So here we have used the auxiliary called can. So these are the examples of auxiliaries. Now try to understand more and more the meanings of modal auxiliaries in detail. We just used one auxiliary in previous slide, that is can. Now let's begin with the can. So can depicts ability. Yes, I can. Permission. Can I? It shows request. It shows possibility. Can you do that? Can you climb Mount Everest? So these are shows ability, permission, request, possibility. That these are the meanings attached to a particular modal auxiliary. For example, shall. So shall is used in, we generally use that to make sentence in future, which talks about futurity, willingness, intention, suggestion, and insistence. Then will in will we have futurity, willingness, intention, suggestion, insistence, request. Should, obligation, means it is, as we know, it is a past participle. In past it will be should. Obligation, advisability, necessity, expectation. Will become would when we convert it into past tense. When would shows willingness, habitual action, possibility, wishes and desires, just like will. Can and could both are related to each other because there is a past form. Ability, request and possibility. So we just discussed that how can we use this particular modal auxiliary. So can is used for ability, permission, request, possibility. Now may. So may is permission, possibility, wishes, purpose and concession. So this is for may. And may will become might. It will if we just convert from into past, it will become might. Then we have must, which is for necessity, prohibition, compulsion, obligation, certainty and probability. Certainty means we must follow the rules. So that is necessity. Compulsion, where there is any situation when there is necessity is required, then must will be used. Now ought to, like moral obligation, duty, necessity, desirability. We ought to follow the traffic rules. So it is our moral duty, right? So these are some examples of modal auxiliaries with their particular meaning and how it can be used in what kind of situations. Now at the end we will end this topic, that how we can use all these auxiliaries in a particular sentence. Now let's have some exercise. So fill in the blanks with should, ought to, dare, must, will, must and need. So we just discussed in the previous slides what it will be. The first will be she dash speak English fluently. Second is the light is on, Meena dash be reading. Third is one dash follow the commands in the army. I dash go there frequently, but these days I can't. How dash you go against me. And we see sixth one, that is you dash need, we can say not worry, your husband is recovering. So for example, here if you look at the first one, so it shows capability. It means she just look at the second one first. The light is on, Meena must be reading. Okay, then the third is one should follow the commands in the army. How dare you go against me. In the end, you need not to worry, your husband is recovering. You need not to worry. Then I used to go to. Here the answer, I ought to go there frequently, but these days I can't. Like here the answer will be I used to go to. Here that is not given, but the answer will be the used. Okay, one should follow. The commands in the army. And she can. It shows capability. Now she will be a famous actress one day. The seventh one, she will. It shows futurity. So must, here it shows let's look at another thing. Here one must follow the commands in the army. In our army there is a very strict rules, which means rule. It is a compulsory. Then it is must. Now she, here there will be you need not worry. The sixth one will be you need not to worry. Then will be fifth, how dare you go against me. Then the fourth will be I dash go there frequently, but these days I can't. I ought to, which means, or we can say I used to. So in this slide we just need to put shall, should, will or would. So I dash try to come. They dash pay all their taxes. She dash be expelled from hostel if she comes late. So in exam there will be question like this. Now let's look at the answer. I will try to come, which means futurity. They should pay all their taxes, which shows suggestion. She will be expelled, will be, which means when there is a will, there is always be. Just remember the thing. If there is a will, if there is be, it must be, it shows future. She will be expelled from hostel if she comes late. We shall not be dishonest. We shall not. Then what time should I come? Should I come at the last? Should I come? It is asking a question at what time. As we see all the adverbials, circumstance, stance, how the adverbial and the adjectives are related to each other. It is more a kind of similar things. Now let's look at the final slide, that how we sum up this thing. So in this unit we have discussed two major aspects of English grammar. One is adverbial and the second is auxiliary. So in auxiliaries, both are very similar. However, they are not the same. They look very similar, but there are various types of adverbials as per the functional grammar. In addition to this, the meaning and usage of auxiliaries have been in detail in this unit. So at the end you will find there are many things given in your unit. If you go through all the things, you will find there are exercises are given, there are very good amount of keywords are given which will increase your vocab. So thank you learners for joining today's session. We'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.
स्वाध्यायः